Welcome back. We have breaking news to report right now. You see FBI director standing behind Department of Justice Attorney General Pam Bondi. They're talking about the latest in an investigation that they have been following since the Benghazi attacks. Director Kash Patel, along with U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, are holding that press conference right now. We are listening in for just a few minutes.
For supporting all of our agencies around the country and around the world. Abu Khush will now face American justice on American soil. We will prosecute this alleged terrorist to the fullest extent of the law. He'll face charges related to murder, terrorism, arson, among others. Let this case serve as a reminder. If you commit a crime against the American people anywhere in this world, President Trump's Justice Department will find you. It might not happen overnight, but it will happen. You can run, but you cannot hide. We are immensely grateful to our partners, especially at the State Department and the CIA, who lost lives in the Benghazi attack. Director Patel and the FBI agents did tireless work to track and arrest this man. I want to thank everyone standing behind me, all the agents who work so great with our lawyers, with our national security lawyers, and around the world to bring this terrorist to justice. And I have a statement to read from Director Radcliffe. He wanted to be here. He couldn't be here. He's busy protecting our world. He's deeply grateful for the relentless efforts of the Department of Justice and the FBI to bring justice to the individual allegedly responsible for the death of Americans in the horrific 2012 Benghazi attack. CIA and the nation will never forget the extraordinary services and sacrifices of Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, who gave their lives in defense of others and exemplified the very best of our agency. I'd now like to turn it over to Director Patel for remarks. And I again want to thank him for his relentless work in this case.
General, thank you. And I want to steal one of your lines. Never forget. Pam never forgot. The president never forgot. This FBI never forgot. And certainly U.S. Attorney Pirro never forgot. When an act of terrorism of this magnitude strikes at the heart of our nation, we go to work. President Trump has given us the full resources at the FBI and across the interagency to make sure we deliver justice. And Pam, you're right. Dan and I did sit down early on about this to bring justice, but you led the effort. You brought together the interagency. You said we are going to get this done because no one agency alone can do it. So we are thankful to have an Attorney General at the Department of Justice who works together with every single cabinet secretary and enforce the law. What you saw today, and I want to get, or what you're going to see today, I'm going to address in a minute, but I want to remind the folks out there the work of this Department of Justice. We were here just a few short months ago talking about how we were going to raise the RFJ for another violent offender on the run, Ryan Wedding. And what did we do under Attorney General's leadership? And what did we do when President Trump said, go get the worst of the worst? We captured him. We captured together under President Trump's leadership 6 of the FBI's most wanted fugitives in 1 calendar year. To put that in perspective, that is 2 more than the entirety of the prior administration. And you cannot do that alone at the FBI. You have to have an Attorney General and a Department of Justice willing to prosecute, willing to go to the 4 corners of the earth and make sure we deliver justice. And that's what we're doing here today. I was at the airfield with U.S. Attorney Pirro earlier this morning when we did the formal foreign transfer of custody of Bakush into U.S. custody to face prosecution under her auspices and her office. And the Department of Justice are going to execute justice for the fallen. As a young prosecutor at CTS, the National Security Division, I worked on the Benghazi case. This was very near and dear and personal to me. We lost 4 brave Americans in Chris, Sean, Kyle, and Steve. And we can never, ever, ever forget them, ever, and we will not. In order to put something like this together, it doesn't happen overnight. The FBI's hostage rescue team, the FBI's critical incident response group, our special flight operations unit, and countless others, along with the agents in the New York field office who never forgot Benghazi and never let the world forget it, endured over a decade to bring yet another terrorist who killed 4 Americans to justice. That is a relentless pursuit of mission that can only happen when you have an interagency who's willing to get after it. I'm extremely thankful to the CIA and Director Ratcliffe and our other law enforcement partners for making sure that the world knows that if you kill an American citizen in an act of terrorism, we will hunt you down. We will bring you to justice, and you will face justice here in America, not in another court and not in any other proceeding around the world, but here. You killed our own, so we are going to take it to the streets to make sure you are held accountable. Once again, I'd really like to thank the entirety of the FBI, headquarters divisions. There are so many moving pieces to actually execute a foreign transfer of custody. And now we're talking about the 7th, the 3rd in just a couple of weeks. And I don't know if that has ever happened before in U.S. history. It's happening because President Trump backs the blue. President Trump has given law enforcement the resources we need to take the fight across the world. And the Attorney General has been relentless in her mission to make sure that these victims are remembered and that we bring them some semblance of peace by bringing those who killed their loved ones to justice. It's a little full circle for me. Yes, then Director Deputy Bongino and I did sit down and said, how are we going to get this guy? How are we going to find the individual responsible for the Benghazi attacks? And we sat down with Jeanine Pirro, and we sat down with the AG and her team and the Deputy Attorney General. And every single day, every single week, we talked about how we would do it. And we're here today because we have an interagency that is led by superior individuals who have one shared goal: protecting America and our lives and our future. And to any others out there who wish to do harm, especially commit acts of terrorism here and around the world, this is the feat you will meet. You will not be forgotten by us. We will chase you down. And it is a privilege and an honor to be the director of the FBI and come full circle for me, especially on this Benghazi case, especially with the families I know so well. And for me to you, the families, I just want to personally say, I continue to pray for you. I hope that we can give you a little bit of peace in the utmost difficult of times when you've lost loved ones. And I just want to thank President Trump for delivering that peace and that modicum of justice. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director. And it's now my honor to introduce the woman who will be prosecuting this alleged terrorist, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
Thank you, Attorney General. 14 years ago, Americans watched in horror as a scene unfolded in a foreign land, in one of the most dangerous places in the world for Americans, Benghazi, Libya. An American ambassador, elite military personnel, and a State Department employee were all violently murdered. For 13 hours, the American cavalry never came. For 13 hours, they waited for help that never came. Today, President Trump is making sure that American justice is coming for those individuals responsible for the deaths of those 4 Americans. Bakush is now on U.S. soil because of the President, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Kash Patel. The FBI, the Department of Justice, never forgot. There are prosecutors in this room right now who have been in the office for 13 years and have consistently handled this matter in this case. This department will never forget the seemingly forgotten in that outpost in Benghazi. Bakush was first charged by complaint in 2015, which was sealed for 11 years. An indictment, an 8-count indictment, has been unsealed, and it charges Bakush with the murder of Ambassador Chris Stevens, the murder of State Department employee Sean Smith, the attempted murder of State Department Special Agent Scott Wickland, and conspiracy to provide materials for terrorists and support that resulted in the death of 4 Americans, as well as arson at the special mission. I don't have to go through all of the facts, but every one of us remembers this case. I reported on it when I worked at Fox. I had relationships, as Kash Patel just said, with the families. And last night, as soon as they were in custody, because of Pam and because of Cash, we had a limited unsealing order from Judge Cooper that allowed me to speak to the family members to let them know that justice was coming for Bakush. I spoke with Sean Smith's mother, who I've known for years and have communicated with for years. I spoke with Tyrone Woods' widow, Dr. Dorothy Woods. I spoke with Ambassador Chris Stevens' family, as well as Glenn Doherty's brother, Greg, as well as his widow. These were people who never expected that justice would be coming. They never knew about the determination in this room and behind me and the incredible work of the FBI along this case for years and years, because this was something that mattered. The Benghazi saga was a painful one for Americans. It has stayed with all of us. And let me be very clear, there are more of them out there. Time will not stop us from going after these predators, no matter how long it takes, in order to fulfill our obligation to those families who suffered horrific pain at the hands of these violent terrorists. And now, I again want to tell everyone that American justice is here, that President Trump will make sure that the cavalry comes for Americans no matter where they are in this world. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions.
I'm looking, I have an on-topic and an off-topic. Sure. Tell us a little bit about how he was captured, where he was captured. Was he in jail for a while before? Was he at home? What can you tell us about how this all went down?
We're not going to give out a lot of the details, but I'm going to let Cash take what we can say.
The general's right. We have to protect the integrity of the investigation and the ongoing prosecution. That's of the utmost importance. It always is, to make sure even this individual receives the constitutional protections only afforded in the United States of America. But an FTOC, a foreign transfer of custody, is executed by the FBI each and every time with special tactical assets, FBI agents, and of course medical personnel. And that was done in this instance. And the individual was apprehended and transferred over the night and into custody early this morning at an airfield. And so that's about all we can say on that matter. But in order to maintain the chain of custody, this is what the FBI does, routine, every time. It's what we did for the 6 top 10 we already captured. It's what we did for the relentless others that we continue to capture.
Was he picked up in Libya?
He was picked up overseas.
And then if I could just ask you two quick off topics. Obviously, this terrible tragedy we're watching in Arizona with Nancy Guthrie. I understand you know Savannah Guthrie. What is the federal government doing right now? Is the FBI now leading the investigation, taking it over from the locals?
We're doing everything to assist the locals. We're working with the locals. Breaks my heart for Savannah and for her family. I know she's asked for all of our prayers. So please pray for her beautiful mom, pray for her family that she's returned home. That's all we can say about that at this time. But yeah, I've known Savannah for over 30 years, and it's breaking my heart.
If I may, there seems to be a little confusion with DNI Gabbard was down in Atlanta last week for the Fulton County search. Originally, this office said that she was not part of the investigation. She put in a letter to Congress that President Trump directed her to do so. And then now President Trump yesterday said that it was at your insistence that she went down there. So what is the case here?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. It's that's interesting because DNI Gabbard and I are inseparable. We are constantly together, as are the people behind us. We constantly talk. We collaborate as a cabinet. We're all extremely close, know what each other, what we're doing at all times pretty much to keep not only our country safe, but our world safe. And she was down there with Deputy Director Andrew Bailey of the FBI. And I'm not going to talk about any other details of that matter right now because Georgia's a very important issue to us. She was there. We're inseparable. That's all I'll say.
Mike, let me see.
Can you say, was there foreign involvement in the capture of this suspect? What kind of assistance did you get from other countries?
I'm going to let Director Patel take that. I think we're not going to be able to say a lot on that matter as well. But, and to you personally, I'm so sorry you and your NBC family are going through this right now.
We appreciate it.
As the general said, in order to execute an apprehension, a capture, and a foreign transfer of custody, no one agency alone can do it. We did it throughout the interagency here, and of course, we're working with partners overseas. And we're not going to get into the details of those conversations and those ongoing matters because as the U.S. Attorney indicated to you, we're not done. And so what we want to do is maintain not just the integrity of this investigation, but the possibility and the promise of bringing more individuals to justice for this heinous act of terror.
Do we have time for a couple more? We have something else going on at 10 o'clock down there.
Yeah, so on Benghazi, what did the communication look like between the Trump administration and the victims' families throughout this process, if any? I know someone has started to sue Clinton during, in the early days of this, but what's the communication look like with them?
I think what I can say now is that do you want to take that, Director? We've had to keep everything very quiet for obvious reasons up until this point, and then U.S. Attorney Pirro, as she said, contacted all the families, and I think they were absolutely thrilled. I think they had probably lost faith that something would happen, but again, we never forget. Donald Trump never forgets. So, yeah, and we have a 10 o'clock in our office. That's a very positive. If anyone would like to join us on that, so thank you. Go ahead.
That the DNI, the Tulsi Gabbard's presence in Atlanta during a law enforcement search, are you concerned at all that that could taint whatever the FBI is doing and whatever findings come from that investigation?
Absolutely not. And Andrew Bailey was taking the lead down there. He's Director Patel's deputy director of the FBI. Thank you all. Thanks. Sorry. Oh, it's okay.
Welcome back. You are just listening to closing remarks there from Attorney General Pam Bondi. She was backed there by U.S. State's Attorney Jeanine Pirro for D.C. and FBI Director Kash Patel, talking about their success in apprehending someone directly tied to the Benghazi attacks back on September 11, 2012. Joining me now is NewsNation Law and Justice contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jennifer, I know that you listened in on this press conference as well. So much to take away, and I'm not even sure where to begin, but I do want to recognize that all of the officials standing there took time to recognize those whom we lost. Doherty, Woods, Stevens, and Smith talking about that we would never forget. And this is one of those moments where, Jennifer, you cannot help but feel strong and proud as an American to hear your directors talk about how important it is that they get justice for those who lost their lives serving this country.
Nick, I couldn't agree with you more. I think many of us remember exactly where we were at when that happened. I know for myself, I was actually overseas as well. And I can tell you that that hit and what happened there concerned all of us. And the fact that they haven't forgotten, and behind the scenes, which many people don't realize, but behind the scenes, you have agents assigned to these cases that just keep plowing away. And now we're seeing the results.
And Jennifer, I think it's so important to mention, and I go back to this because it's no secret that we're divided as a country, but moments like this remind us of what's really important, that under this same flag, under this same Constitution, we fight for what is right. Director Patel talked about some of the details, but he couldn't give away much. Jennifer, what can you help us break down here? He talked about that there was a transfer, but he did not mention any specifics about that. And he also closed with saying there's a promise of more individuals being brought to justice.
Well, he made it clear why he's not discussing the transfer, and I think it's because there is additional help and additional individuals that are likely going to be apprehended, and he doesn't want to give any details as to how that is all happening. But you can bet the FBI, the legal attaches, and all those involved overseas are working hand in hand with other governments to make these arrests and apprehensions.
And more often than not, we see these leaders as director. You see Attorney U.S. State's Attorney Jeanine Pirro, and you remember that these people, or they remind you that there is another side to them as well. She talked about staying in touch with these families, that she wanted to let them know that they had not forgotten, and that they asked for permission to contact those families and say, guess what? We found someone and we've captured someone directly responsible to that. Jennifer, can you talk about how the emotional side to this, as just a human, as someone who does this work, you can't always separate the two?
Well, I tell you what, everybody I think sometimes sees our leaders, particularly the director of the FBI, the attorney general, these strong prosecutors, as figureheads up there. But I can tell you, in working these cases and being a part of these, that the human side comes in, you get emotionally involved in the case to a certain degree, and you certainly feel horrible for the victim families. It's just inevitable.
And Jennifer, these agencies often work together, yes?
They work together much more closely than people understand, and it's critical that they work together closely. We've seen other cases where the attorney general didn't get along with the FBI agent, didn't get along with the president. You have a cohesive group here, and that has been instrumental to making these types of cases happen.
Jennifer, I do want to switch gears here a bit, because we also heard questions from the press in the room about the latest in the search for Nancy Guthrie. This is just heartbreaking. You cannot help but think about someone in your own family who may have limited mobility and just taken in the middle of the night, Jennifer.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, taken in the middle of the night. And it seems like there's not a lot of answers right now. I mean, the digital trail seems to be cold, at least at this point. They're putting up billboards. They've increased the amount of reward now to $50,000. When I see things like that, I see that they are searching for information, and that's concerning. It means they don't have as much as we had hoped.
And Jennifer, I remember once you and I have talked about this before in relation to other cases. Officials don't always share everything they know. So it is possible that they know more than they've shared with us, but they are still looking for more information, yes?
Yes, 1,000% sure. They know so much more information. They're not going to share it and tip their hands, but they're working in two directions, right? They're following up on this ransom letter that was sent to various media outlets, and then they also have to follow the normal investigative procedure concerning family members, close associates. I would look for those individuals to be polygraphed, and us hearing about people, whether they have been removed from a possible area of suspicion or not. Because right now, the sheriff says everyone is a suspect.
Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jennifer, thank you so much. Here now is NewsNation senior national security contributor, Lieutenant General Richard Newton, retired Air Force Assistant Vice Chief of Staff. General Newton, it seems as though we're always talking about something that deals with national security that isn't always positive, but this is a positive move here, to hear the FBI director, to see the Attorney General and the U.S. State's Attorney come out and say, we caught one of these guys we did not forget from September 11, 2012, and guess what? He will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The FBI director was also careful to say, you know what? He will also be afforded all of the rights that he is afforded, that is only granted to those who are here in the United States.
Well, good morning, Nick. This is a very good day for the United States. I would underscore what Jennifer said, and then I would add that, in terms of this terrorist operation that killed the United States ambassador and other Americans in Benghazi and Libya, as you mentioned, over 13 years or so ago, the message is you can run, but you can't hide. The United States is going to stay on the trail. We're going to find, fix, target, and we're going to capture and bring you back to U.S. soil. We're going to put you in the U.S. court system. We're going to give you a fair trial, and we'll determine, guilty or not guilty at that point. But this is a very good day. I think it also enhances the United States deterrence overseas with regard to what I believe still is continuing war on terror. And so nonetheless, and my final point is, I'm thinking about those families who've been grieving for these over a dozen years, and another terrorist is brought to justice.
And General Newton, I do want to go back to September 11, 2012. Jennifer talked about how she remembers where she was. I'm assuming you did the same, and you understood the operation there. What can you tell us about the work they were doing and why this attack came without warning?
Well, I do indeed remember. This was again, there was a looming, growing terrorist operation, terrorist cell that was, putting in harm's risk not only the American team there, but, hosted at the United States Embassy, but at this consulate. Our U.S. ambassador was threatened up to that point, and then, frankly, sorry for the term, but all hell broke loose with regard to, specifically in Benghazi. And then there was a call for U.S. military operations to come in to support our Americans who were under attack there at the consulate. That came to no avail at this point. But nonetheless, right now, another terrorist is brought to justice. Final point, Nick, there are more terrorists, particularly, that help plan and execute this operation against Americans that still need to be brought to justice. That's another message that we're sending not only to the Benghazi terrorists, but other terrorists who have plans to attack Americans in the future.
And quickly, General Noon, before I let you go, can I get you just to sound off on Iran and the latest in that situation and where your thoughts are?
Well, right now, Steve Woodcock and Jared Kushner and Admiral Cooper, the commander of U.S. Central Command, are having diplomatic discussions in Oman at this very moment with the Iranians. I believe their Minister of Foreign Affairs there. I think we are in a historic moment right now. I do not have confidence that diplomatic relations will create a breakthrough here. I think the Iranians want to stall. I think the United States now has effective, sufficient both defensive forces in the region as well as offensive forces to conduct not just a 1 day, but several days, perhaps over a couple of weeks, campaign both from the sea, from the air, and certainly cyber as well, to create the conditions for regime change, perhaps for the regime to collapse, and therefore to move forward and finally get past this 47 plus years of dominant Islamic, revolution that started back in 1979 that has put Americans in harm's way as well as really significantly threatened U.S. national security interests in the region. And I think it's going to be at some point an historic moment where we're going to move forward in the Mideast.
And the capture of someone directly responsible to September 11, 2012, definitely a day for every American to celebrate. Lieutenant General Richard Newton, thank you so much, sir.
Good morning, Nick.
The DOJ also weighing in on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. There's a $50,000 reward being offered for any information on the case. We'll update you on the search next.